Rashitelek. So tonight we are going to learn a little bit about this very powerful, effective, practical way of transforming the suffering into compassion, which in Tibetan we call this practice Tonglen practice, right? Tonglen, and this original method, of course, taught by Buddha Shakyamuni 2,500 years ago, and but just kind of it become not given the name Tonglen, but it is one method, one technique that to transform suffering into compassion. I think Shantideva put it into word, like in his Bodhisattva way of life, that there was a Bodhisattva practice that taking the suffering of other sentient being and then generating compassion for that, and then taking it in and then transforming it. And then later, great master Atisha put it also like a bodhisattva, one of the bodhisattvas practice. And then later in Tibet, there is a practice called Lojong. Lojong. Lo means mind, Jong means, what do you say? Jong. Jong means to polish, or what do you say? Yeah, polishing the mind or making the mind clear, like, or training the mind. Sometimes we use the word like Lojong as a training. So making our mind better. So there's a one Lojong practice. And in that Lojong practice, the Tonglen practice was very much practiced in their, they put that into their daily practice. And one thing about the Tonglen meditation is basically we all sentient being. Dalai Lama always says that, right? Everybody wants to be happy. Nobody wants to be, suffering. And I think if you see some of the Dalai Lama teaching, like every time, just like wherever, like he gives a teaching, he says that. Even somebody interviewed that, he says that. Just kind of general, like everywhere, like he used that. And sometimes people think that, oh, this is so ordinary, this is so simple. But, the profound teachings lies in this simple message, which we all, that's kind of our way of life, right? We have to deal with that. Everybody, we all want it to be happy, and we don't want to be, suffer. So, and suffering, even though we don't want suffering in our life, we have many suffering that we always deal with. There are many suffering in our life. We don't have to count, or we don't have to pinpoint what are those sufferings, and we are very well aware of our own suffering. And one thing that we are very well aware of our suffering, and many times we don't know what to do with it. And main thing how we deal with our suffering is we always fight with suffering. We fight so that we will win over the suffering. And on the process of fighting with the suffering, and we want to gain happiness, but instead of gaining happiness, we gain more suffering as a result of fighting with the suffering. So when we deal with the suffering, we fight with suffering, and we create more suffering. And then again, there's a more suffering. We fight with it, again, there's a more suffering. So we kind of feel very overwhelmed with that. We know that we should not be fighting with the suffering. And on the other hand, then we go into another extreme of dealing with our suffering, is that we avoid. We try to avoid our suffering. And best way to avoid our suffering that we find is we run away from the suffering. Just kind of like don't look at the suffering and don't pay attention to the suffering. And if you, like many times, like we teach this technique like be optimistic. Don't think about the suffering. If you think about the suffering, then you will have more suffering. So that is our way of dealing with the suffering. So mainly we deal with our own suffering is either we fight with it or either we avoid it. So these are the two methods that most people know. And this is the method that most people, I will say 99% of human beings and also sentient beings are dealing with their suffering in that way. Either fight it or either avoid it. And then there is not much technique or method that is practiced by people like, really trying to understand the suffering. And either when we fight with suffering or we avoid the suffering, this either technique, neither of these technique actually trying to connect with the suffering, right? We are not really connecting with suffering. If you fight with the suffering, you're not really connecting with the suffering. If you avoid the suffering, you're not really connecting with the suffering. So suffering is there. Why suffering is there? So that we can learn something from that. So actually, suffering, negativities, negative part of our life, it exists, it is there. And it is there. Everybody has a negativity, everybody has a suffering. And main thing, the suffering is there so that we can learn from the suffering. If there is no suffering, we cannot learn. So that is why, like, the main purpose of having a suffering in our life or in existence is to learn, not to fight or not to avoid. Just kind of thing is about acceptance, which is very difficult. Acceptance, that's where the spiritual, point start. Acceptance is very difficult. And when we fight or when we avoid, this is not the sign of accepting, right? It is not a sign of accepting. It is more sort of like, not connecting. So that is why Tonglen practice is a very powerful method to connect with the suffering, to really connect with the suffering. And we don't have to search for suffering because suffering is very available in every moment of our life, right? It is available. It is just, it is everywhere you go, you can find it. And it is there, like all the time. And that object that we are dealing, it is there. So this practice, Tonglen, is made to use that, to accept that, to connect that. So before I go into the Tonglen practice, first I want to share what is the point of why we want to accept the suffering. It is a weird, philosophy or theory because in the worldly religion, in the world, our philosophy is either avoid the suffering or fight with the suffering. That is our philosophy. In that theory, there comes the acceptance of suffering. We don't want to hear that. Basically, the suffering and the negativity is part of ourself, right? It is a part of ourself. And this belongs to us. There was one beautiful story that there was a Tibetan yogi. He was living in the cave, sitting in the cave. And he used to talk with sometimes he see when the negativity comes, when the frustration or anger or things like that comes, and he put that in a sort of like a metaphor. Like he put that, and then he made this poem. Sort of, he said, when these fearful, scary, these demons, which he means by those negatives, negativities, when they come, what I say is I invite them. I invite them into my cave. And then I ask them to sit next to me. And I greet them. And I ask them, so how are you? How come you come here today in my cave? And then I communicate with my own negativities, which is the scary one. And then the first response that my negativity always give to me is, aren't you scared of me? Usually, everybody's scared. You used to scare of me. And today, you are greeting me instead of scaring, running away, or fighting with me. Today, you are so nice. And I'm shocked. And there's a lot of questions, our negativity. When we first respond to our negativity like that master said, there's a lot of, communication going on. Question, why? It is like, why did you ignore me before? Why did you fight with me before? And why today you are so nice to me? All these things. And then master said, what I do is I tell them, shh, I'm meditating. I allow you to come sit beside me. Don't talk. I just want you to stay here. But there is no pressure. If you feel like leaving this cave, go. But I'm welcoming you. Just sit next to me. And, here, look at me. I'm being nice to you. I'm being nice to you. I'm not avoiding you. And I'm not fighting with you. Sit beside me. And you are freedom that you came in, I welcome you, and you go whenever you feel like going. That is how I communicate. And that is the metaphor, exact metaphor of welcoming, accepting the suffering. See, in that case, when that master, when he invites those negativity, and what he does, when he's, it is inviting them. It is not fighting, right? It is not yelling at your negativity, saying like, why you're here? Again you're here, you came here to make trouble. Like, yelling at them, or just kind of like, like you close the door of the cave with the, may build the concrete on the door. And then when you want to go out of the cave, then you have to, to fight with your own concrete that you made, right? So that's kind of like like how the masters give us this kind of technique of how to welcome. This is a interesting metaphor of welcoming the negativity, and that is how we should do. It is like anything, like even suffering or negativity or anything that comes in our life. Just kind of, when it is there, it is like, instead of fighting or avoiding, just say, hello, how are you? You might be here for some reason. And then just kind of allow it there. Just, because if you fight with it, you are avoiding it, just kind of you create more and more anger and frustration and disappointment, all these things. And then your suffering kind of multiply, right? And you have only one physical suffering, and then on top of that, when you fight, you get so upset, when you get so disappointed, you get so frustrated, you get so angry. All these are not there at the beginning, right? At the beginning, there was just a small physical pain. But how you deal with it, you make it worse and worse and worse. First, it was just a physical pain. Later, it became emotional pain. And later, it became a spiritual pain. So it's become like bigger and bigger. So that is why best way is like accepting the suffering. Actually, just kind of right before I was coming here, I found this beautiful poem from the Rumi, the Sufi, and which has a very interesting kind of concept, like what I'm talking here. It says it is called the guest house, I think, by Rumi, and it was translated by Coleman Burks. And it is found in the essential, Rumi's kind of collection. It says, "This human being is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep my house empty of its furniture. Still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight." The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. It was a, just kind of interesting poem, right? Like what Shantideva and what the Tonglen practice, the acceptance of the suffering. And that is also, Rumi put that in a beautiful kind of metaphor. Like, like you are the guest house. Just like, your whole being is like the guest house. All the experience, no matter what. Good experience, bad experience, pleasant experience, unpleasant experience, neutral experience. Everything is just a guest. And you are there creating this space, and you make this space, and that is the concept behind the Tonglen. Before we understand what Tonglen meditation is, the purpose of the Tonglen meditation is to connect with the suffering, to accept the suffering. If we cannot accept the suffering, if we cannot, we cannot connect with the suffering. A Tonglen meditation is an overwhelming practice, right? Just to see how the Tonglen meditation is. Tonglen meditation needs a big acceptance. So it is like people do many Tonglen meditation. People kind of practice Tonglen meditation, and then they breathe in all the negativity and suffering and all this stuff. But when it comes to your own life, you don't even welcome your own suffering. You don't even welcome your own negativity. Then how are you gonna receive all the suffering of the world, right? First here, the Tonglen meditation. If this person, the person who is practicing Tonglen meditation, is accepting suffering person, practitioner, then Tonglen meditation fits very well there. Then it is just the same. I accept all my suffering, and I accept everybody's suffering. It is not like, that. So that is why before we build the Tonglen meditation, what philosophy, what practice we need, what attitude, I think that is the right word. Like what attitude needed as a practitioner. The attitude of the practitioner of the Tonglen is like that. You are welcoming kind of person. Welcoming, very welcoming, just sort of like you're not fighting or you're not avoiding, just very good host. Just welcome, and everything just come, you take it in with a great love. And when we do with this attitude, when we build our Tonglen practice on that foundation, then what happens is we become the alchemist of suffering. Because with that attitude, if you take in the whole suffering and the negativity of the whole world, what happens is you take it in, transform it, and then you give up you give away, you give away the positive. So that is the main practice of the Tonglen. So Tonglen is mainly like we become like the alchemy vehicle, sort of like alchemy sourced, right? Like everything just comes in and we become the machine that transform everything. And we breathe in the whole suffering. We breathe in the whole suffering and then transform it, sort of like recycle it. Recycle it and then give it, give the positivity out. Okay, this is the Tonglen traditional practice that we do. So before we do this practice, there is a few different level of Tonglen meditation. With that attitude, first, we already talked about the attitude, right? And with that attitude, if the first stage of practicing the Tonglen is when you see the other people suffering, yourself suffering, right? And mainly, we don't experience what other people experience, right? It is like everybody, my experience is my individual experience. Nobody experiences what I experience, right? But when we suffer, when we have a suffering, when we have a pain, either it is a physical pain or emotional pain or anything, what our mind does is our mind think that nobody is experiencing same like this. I am the only person in the whole world. I think that is, we take that, because our attitude is pretty much like that in the world. Because we only understand, we know only our own experience. We don't know the other people's experience. And all the things that maybe we think those are experiencing is just an assumption, right? We assume what other people are going through. But only thing we know is we know our experience. When we feel happy, we know. When we feel suffering, we know. So basically, our ego-oriented mind tend to think that I am the only one in the whole universe. Right? It is like I am the center of the universe. That is how we think. So when we are suffering, that which it does, it just it narrows down our mind. It narrows down our mind and thinking that, poor me, I am the only person who is suffering. I'm the only person who has this negativity. And you shut down your wisdom eyes. You don't see anything. Only you. And this whole you, just you totally dissolve into this situation. That suffering situation, totally. And your life is this now. Your whole life is this. You don't see anything. And in that moment, then your suffering become big. Because you only see this only, right? So that is why first, just open your eyes. First to open your eyes by when you are going through a suffering. I'm going through suffering. I know there are many people who are going through suffering like me, right? There are many people who are going through suffering like me, or more than me, sort of like that It is true. It is our mind wanted to think that to make ourselves more pity, like a feeling pity on ourselves, but don't let yourself feel pity. Then it will become more suffering. So that is why just open yourself up. That is why the first stage of Tonglen meditation is opening your mind. When suffering tends to narrow our mind, don't let yourself to narrow it. Just remember that, open it. Okay, just open. This is, I'm feeling, other people might be feeling that kind of thing. Or some people might be feeling more than that, right? If you have a physical pain, like, we have a headache, and this headache is the whole world, right, at that time. But actually there are much worse pain that other people are going through. So we don't see that. So that is why that is just a first level of Tonglen meditation, first stage of Tonglen meditation. Even when you're doing this, you're doing a Tonglen meditation. Just opening yourself. And after you open, then you can see. And then the rest of the Tonglen meditation comes a little bit easier once you're open. If you're not open, if you think I'm the only person who's suffering this, then what are you going to do, right? You're not going to do anything. Because that conception is totally wrong. You're not only person who is suffering. There are other people who are suffering too. So that opening mind is the first level. Okay, once you are open, now you're open. Now you're thinking, your suffering is not too big now, right? The suffering that you're having, and then it is like, I'm suffering and there are many other people suffering. And then you do here sort of like generate this kind of thought. Like, okay, I'm suffering, so I'm going to suffer this, for them, sort of like that. So may they don't have the suffering. I'm feeling the suffering. May I take all their suffering. Instead of everybody, going through the same suffering, like kind of like you just generate this prayer saying, may I have the other people suffering. I'm suffering, so I'll just, suffer for them. That kind of attitude, that kind of practice, that kind of prayer. And that is the second level of, what do you call, Tonglen. This is Tonglen, it is like you are giving a prayer for the other sentient being. You're giving a prayer, wish, good wish. You're sending your wish. And then what you are receiving is you're accepting the pain that you have, and you're just kind of, feeling this pain for them, sort of like that kind of meditation. Then, once we have this kind of like a first stage and second stage of Tonglen, then, your real Tonglen practice is now it is easy, right? Now it's easy. You have an attitude. You accept the suffering, and your mind is open because you don't think that you are the only person who is suffering. And then you have a great wish that you have this wish, this great aspiration to, wish to free everybody from suffering. So on top of that, then when you sit in a meditation of Tonglen, breathe in the suffering of all the sentient beings. And also you can just sort of like, accept the whole negativity. It's not just the suffering, it is the whole negativity. And breathe in all the negativities and then transform it. And then breathe out the positivity. Kind of like recycle them and give it to all the sentient being back. So that is we call this a Tonglen meditation. Like basically Tong means give, Len means to receive. So, giving and receiving. Giving what? Giving our good things, and then receiving the bad things. And sometimes we think that it is like, because it is scary, right? It is just sort of like what we learn as, in this culture is always kind of like, be positive, right? That is the message. Be positive. Don't take the other people's suffering, right? Don't take the other people's suffering. Be positive. And this actually go against that philosophy. And this go against that philosophy, and our mind kind of doesn't want to do that. So letting our mind to accept that, letting our mind to accept that it is okay. And then many times it become actually a great healing meditation. There were many stories in Tibet. People who has terminal sickness. That they don't have a much more time to live, and then they practice the Tonglen meditation. They did the Tonglen meditation right, with that attitude, acceptance. It is not like if you do the Tonglen meditation with the motivation of fighting with your suffering, that's not going to work, right? That's not the attitude. It is acceptance. That is a difficult one. Before doing the Tonglen meditation, the acceptance part is difficult. So there was like many stories in Tibet that when they did the Tonglen meditation, even when they have a terminal sickness and then their life kind of postponed and they got kind of, healthy. And sometimes these things are like maybe, from a scientific point of view, difficult to understand, right? Very difficult to understand. It is like, how can you do like, how can it cure? But sometimes miracles happens. So that is, Tonglen meditation is a very powerful way of accepting the suffering, accepting and, transforming and welcoming. So that is a very, Tonglen meditation practice. So I'm thinking that maybe this is just the information of the Tonglen meditation, and so let us just put into practice, okay? So let us kind of like practice this and go into Tonglen meditation. If you have any question before we go into meditation, I will be happy to answer. Yeah.
How do you do the actual transformation of suffering from the negative to the positive? How do you do it?
That's a good question. Then here's a whole 84,000 different technique, right?
I'll be content with one.
It is like breathe in the suffering and then you just don't breathe out. That's how you transform. So actually, the transformation is like with that attitude, just kind of you have this great attitude of accepting, and then as on that top of that attitude, your mind is open, right? And then on top of that, your heart is also open. So these are the two methods that can transform the love, the pure love, that the wish, your great wishing to free all sentient being, and then your whole being is this pure love. Okay, and this pure love is it is like the alchemy, right? It is like the alchemy. So when you breathe in, just it dissolves into that love, and that love transforms. So you don't have to do just sort of like, just think that, that dissolves into that love, and then automatically that, out of that love comes the breath. Next breath, that becomes, that, because it is coming out of pure love. So that is, love itself, that our own heart, that open heart, open mind, that itself is the alchemy. So, yeah, just breathe out, okay? Yeah.
How does Tonglen practice affect someone's karma? So if I'm practicing for others or for a specific person, is that going to change their karma, or how does it alter their karma?
So basically your question is, will it interfere with other people's karma, right? Karma, the concept of the karma itself is very complicated, karma is not something that you have to go through, the that experience. So I don't think it is about interfering with the karma, but it is definitely interfering with the whole existence. So what happened is just kind of like when you generate this pure love, our whole existence, we are not the physical, right? We have a different level, we have a different dimension, which we are more exist in an energy level, sort of like, that the whole kind of vibration, there's like a vibration kind of, like living, beings. So when you generate this huge love, what happens is, it is affecting, it is changing the vibe of the, universe. So when you generate, it is like, if you're thinking it from a samsara is like the, what do you say, messed up tune, okay? And, then your love is there to fix those tune, okay? So making that tune sort of like, flow good. So that is why love that we generate, it is not a physical, right? It is just energy. It is, when we generate this love, we are creating this beautiful energy. So when you create this energy, when something is changed here, it affects, because we are all connected. Even though we have a different physical body and stuff like that, but it is affecting. And a most powerful way is that actually, how does the Tonglen work is because of the love that you have for other sentient being. The Tonglen is the byproduct of the love, right? That practice that comes because you have this great concern, you have this great compassion, you have this great, caring, right? Caring towards the other sentient beings. And just kind of like, I heard this Western Indian, English saying, that, sharing is caring, right? I don't know, that sharing the suffering is caring. But that doesn't mean you have to, suffer, kind of like, like sometimes we kind of have a misinterpretation of, suffer with them is like, like if somebody is suffering, then I have to suffer with them. It is not like that philosophy. Yeah. So that is why definitely it is the energy is affecting the whole universe. So that I don't know if it is exactly it is interfering the karma or not, but it is definitely creating something without interfering with the karma, I guess. Yeah. You have one question? Okay.
I was just thinking of, it's my higher self that I always think of as transforming it, and then I always think of affecting a vibration.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is connected to Tantra. Like in Tantrayana, you try to bring everything to the path, bring everything into the mandala. This sounds a little bit like that. Or would this be Sutrayana or how?
Yeah, actually, just kind of like, you can put that in the Tantrayana practice also, because Tantrayana practice is more symbol-based. So you can create sort of like you can make your Tonglen meditation practice more powerful in a symbolic way. Sort of like you are this, you create your love and compassion, your wisdom. It is the, this like whole being, like any deities, like, enlightened figure. And then when you breathe in, when you breathe in the suffering and the negativity of all sentient being, then, this, like you, like this, your whole being, this is the compassionate nature, like wisdom nature. And it transforms, it kind of flow more easily, I think. in the higher kind of Vajrayana practice. Yeah. So you can do that Tonglen meditation practice by visualizing yourself as this, enlightened figure, and then transform it, and then, in the form of light, and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So everybody ready to go into a short meditation of Tonglen? So with this singing ball sound, let us go into the meditation. Keep your back straight like a pile of golden coins. Your chin slightly in, bending a little bit forward. Close your eyes or gently open, gazing down. And scan your body with your mind to see if there is any tension, tightness, stress. Breathe into that area and breathe out and become relaxed. Now your whole body is in the present moment, sitting very comfortably in a meditation posture. And bring in your mind together with your body. Your mind and body totally connected into the present moment. And your whole being is full of courage. And generate this fearlessness attitude toward the suffering and the negativity. And allow your mind to focus on any negativity or suffering that you are going through. And don't try to fight with it, or don't try to avoid it. And that is the one aspect of you that your attention is needed. And really try to accept it as a part of yourself. And that suffering or that negativity is there for some reason. And try to generate great love to that aspect of yourself. And when you generate this great love toward this aspect, the negative aspects, picture it transforming into the positive aspects. And if it is a suffering or sickness, picture it as healing. And now open your mind for other sentient beings. And there are many sentient beings who are going through the same suffering or having the same negativity. And generate this great concern for all of these sentient beings. And generate this pure love and compassion within yourself, seeing those negativities of other sentient beings. And from deep your heart, make this prayer. And wish them to be happy and free from those negativities. And now, when you breathe in all the negativities and the suffering that you're seeing in your mind, and breathe out positivity, virtuous happiness. Breathe in the negativity, transform it by love, and then breathe out happiness, joy. As you breathe in, your love and your compassion expanding and this pure love, just allow it to expand into the limitlessness. Affecting the whole universe. And the whole universe mixing up with your pure, loving, compassionate energy. as your love and compassion expanded throughout the universe, you feel so spacious, but still connected with your body, your mind, into the present moment. Now, or a few moments from now, when you hear the singing ball, feel free to open your eyes and wake up from the meditation. Now fold your hand at your heart and genuinely pray this for the all-sentient being, okay? And repeat that with me. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings free from suffering and the causes of suffering. So that is a short Tonglen meditation. So just kind of like I throw this as a sample of the Tonglen meditation, and you can, while you're alone, you can expand the time of the meditation and just kind of generate this, really great acceptance of the suffering and the concern for the, other people's suffering and your suffering, and then transformation, and then generate this great spaciousness kind of love. This is very important. When you generate love, like it is very necessary to generate love, that spaciousness love. What is meant by spaciousness love? Spaciousness love means limitless. That your love is not limited. Your love is just doesn't have any limit, just like there, like the space. Your love mixing up with the space, and it become like the space. So that is like the spaciousness love, spacious love. And that is why spaciousness love and compassion towards the limitless sentient being. So then it's just kind of it fits well, right? It's like your love is limitless, and where you're feeling love is also limitless. So, and then that becomes sort of like very spacious, and it brings a great transformation. So that is just a small little workshop on Tonglen. So I hope this technique that I share with you, I hope that you will use it, and just kind of use it for the good. Just try it, with a very different technique. It is, we have, as I said, the suffering is available everywhere. Just like you sitting alone at your home, you might feel lonely, right? And then this is a loneliness feeling, and then just kind of don't think that I'm the only person who is lonely. Right? Then it will make your loneliness double more. So just there is a loneliness come. Okay, here I'm feeling loneliness, and then you acknowledge that. You really acknowledge that I'm feeling it, and then I'm not the only person who's there. Are many people who are feeling. Even people are in the crowd, they might be feeling very lonely, also. And just kind of acknowledge that, and then generate not concern for your loneliness and other people's loneliness, and then just really wish that may all the sentient beings who are feeling lonely, may they overcome from the loneliness. Just kind of you can do that kind of Tonglen meditation. And then, sometime when you're just say driving, and then you just everybody's stuck in the traffic. Actually in Arizona, not bad. If you're stuck in traffic and you look around, instead of yourself so kind of and I'm the only person, I need to go to this, I have this appointment, I have to, just mainly our attitude is I have to do this, I sort of that attitude, just sort of more, it's just bad, right? It is your suffering is more. So even at that time, take that as an opportunity to practice Tonglen. Just open yourself up. Okay, I don't know, maybe there are all people stuck in traffic. I'm not the person who's stuck in traffic. Everybody here stuck in traffic. And, some of them might have a more important work than me. Maybe I'm not the person. It is not the end of the world, that is, and our attitude toward dealing with that is, oh, this is the end of the world, right? And then we create more trouble. There are more accidents, all these things. So just open your attitude. Take that opportunity as a practicing Tonglen thing. Just I wish, just I'm not the only person, and I wish everybody, kind of start relaxing. May they have a relax, and then breathe in their hands, and because you are the person who knows how to relax, right? So you have an ability to transform that. Because you are the person right now you're saying that, okay, I understand. And these other people, they don't understand. I feel compassion. So if I breathe in their suffering, their stress, their tightness, their thing, because I know that I have the ability to transform it. And then you breathe in all there, and then breathe out, just kind of relax and calm energy towards them, And this is kind of life offers opportunity to practice, spirituality. So, we bring that kind of, that Tonglen meditation, not necessarily you just have to sit in the cushion and practice, just everywhere. Just even if you're eating, you're, drinking the water, or, you're just kind of everyday life, just sort of even you're happy. Tonglen meditation is not always when you're suffering. Even when you're happy, you can do the Tonglen meditation. Say you have this, delicious food. And then you just kind of wish, just wish that, okay, I'm eating this delicious food, I wish the people there are who doesn't have a food, I wish they will have the same kind of, delicious food. Then you are giving again, right? So that is why Tonglen meditation is very accessible, and which is kind of we can use that in many different occasions in our life. So just try to practice that, and then who gain at the end, who gain the benefit is you yourself. It is you the person who is practicing gain the benefit, and that person it's not selfish, because you have to work from here before taking the responsibility of the whole universe. First take responsibility here, right? This person, if you cannot make this person happy, then how are you going to bring happiness to others, right? So start from here. And if that practice is bringing something in your life, something, happiness, this is not a selfish, it is, that's not a self-centered kind of thing. Just appreciate that here I am, here I'm bringing happiness to myself. And you are benefiting one sentient being in the universe when you benefit yourself. So many times what we do is we kind of, we let ourselves down and then thinking that doing, charity, 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 right? Outside. And then like we do kind of use the love and compassion sort of like as a, what do you call? To use, like to avoid our own suffering. Like to avoid our suffering and to fight our suffering. So that is why like attitude is very important to change. So that is, what I share tonight is not actually really doesn't need any belief system there, right? Like it is not really about having faith in Buddha. Doesn't matter you have a faith in Buddha or not, you can still do the Tonglen meditation. So Tonglen meditation is mainly, it is very, open. That's why I call it practical. Practical because it can be practiced by anybody. The person who ever wanted to be happy and who believes in love, who believes in compassion, that is this is Tonglen is for that. So that is just a conclusion thoughts on Tonglen. Okay, thank you, and have a great evening.